Maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe it's you.
He says he's doing it all for love. He watches, waits, protects, and kills. But behind Joe Goldberg's quiet charm lies one of TV's most terrifying portrayals of abuse, one that feels uncomfortably real. In today's video, we're gonna do a deep insight into the mind of Joe Goldberg, his escalating darkness, and what the show You teaches us about the psychology of abusive men.
You're spiteful! I made you special!
So, hi, for those who are new, I am Let's Talk About It. I've been gone for a hot minute. Life has been lifing, but I am back. If you're into TV shows, recaps, and character deep dives, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more and stay tuned. So I just finished watching the last season of You, and girl, what a ride. I have so many thoughts and feelings and felt like I just had to do a video on it. I honestly wasn't sure how the show was gonna end because it's been so ridiculous at some points, and they've lost the plot one too many times, so I was well prepared to be so underwhelmed. But I've gotta say, I'm not mad at it, and I'm glad I went along for the ride. But yeah, after finishing the show, I decided that for this week's video, we're gonna talk about Joe Goldberg from You and how his character reveals the dangerous patterns of abusive behaviour hiding in plain sight. Today, we're gonna look at You through a new lens, not as a thriller, but as a case study in abuse. Just to preface this video, I'm not a psychologist or an expert in any way. In this video, I'm just talking about my observations and things that I've read and learned. And I think I should include a trigger warning here because this video does talk about abuse and violence a lot. So I'd advise against watching it if you feel like it might be too triggering.
If there's ever a tiny voice in your head telling you I deserve better, listen to her. That's your real, true love.
If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, please seek help. I will leave some resources in the description. But yeah, with that being said, let's dive in.
The heart wants what it wants. Love chooses us.
So I thought it best to split this video into two main parts. The first part discussing the escalating darkness of Joe, and the second part being what he teaches us about abusive men.
I've always believed in the one.
With the beginning of each season, Joe says he's looking for love.
That there's someone out there for me. A perfect match.
But what he's really searching for is control. And over 4 seasons of You, we watch him evolve from a quiet bookworm into a remorseless killer.
There it is. There it is, Joe. That's the real you.
Season 1, the fantasy of the good guy.
Well, hello there. Who are you?
In season 1, Joe presents himself as the nice guy. He's charming, attentive, and intensely focused on Beck. But that focus is a mask. He convinces himself and us that Beck is different, that this time he'll do it right. He's not in love with Beck though, he's just obsessed with the idea of her. He stalks her, he isolates her, manipulates her, and by the end of the season, he's murdered several people, locked her in a cage, and ended up taking her life.
Bottom line is, she couldn't love me back.
He believes that love is something you earn by controlling someone's life. He's isolated her from her support system and justified it all in the name of protecting love. This season reflects what many survivors would describe as early abusive relationships. A partner who is charming, protective, but slowly begins to control every aspect of your life. Season 1 is about covert abuse, gaslighting, isolation, obsessive control wrapped in charm.
A broken heart I'd have to heal from to love again. A sad story.
Season 2, Love Meets Love.
Love has taken me to dark places, but Los Angeles has got to be as dark as it gets.
Season 2 is where the mirror cracks. Joe tells himself that he's trying to change. He moves to LA and promises to be better, to be different. But this change isn't real, it's rebranding. And the truth is, he's just getting better at lying to himself.
Because it's not just a new home, it's a new me.
In LA, Joe meets new love interest, Love Quinn, someone just as dangerous, obsessive, manipulative as he is. At first, he's drawn to her, but then is repulsed by her. Why? Because she exposes the truth. Joe doesn't want a partner. He wants a fantasy.
I found the real you, Joe. You were even smarter, more passionate, more devoted than I'd known.
The moment a woman stops being his fantasy, she becomes a problem for him to eliminate. When love shows her darkness, Joe is horrified. Not because of her behavior, but because he sees himself in her, and he does not like this reflection, as it breaks his delusion that he's created for himself.
We're soulmates, Joe.
What the fuck?
He ends up murdering again, duh. But this time, he's trying to convince himself and us that it's not who he really is. He turns the blame on others for his urges. She made me do it. I had no choice. This is textbook abusive justification. Accountability disappears as his delusion deepens. Joe believes that his acts are noble because they are for the right person and in the act of love. Season 3, Fatherhood and Fragility, turning abuse into a family dynamic. By season 3, Joe is a father, but rather than becoming more stable, he becomes even more dangerous. You would think that this responsibility might ground him, but nope, it doesn't. His relationship with Love turns even more toxic and violent. You would think these two sickos would just find bliss and run off and live happily ever after, but nope, they don't want to do that. They manipulate, cheat, and threaten each other, turning the family into a battleground, and when they can't control each other, they turn to murder instead.
I died by Love's hand because of love. My world went up in flames.
In this season, Joe begins to rewrite his identity once again. Now he's not a predator. He's a victim of his crazy wife, even though he's equally, if not more, dangerous. His weaponization of the crazy ex trope is a common tactic that real-life abusers use to discredit and isolate their victims, even though unfortunately in this case, this was true.
She went crazy.
What does that mean? Crazy.
By the end of the season, after killing her and moving on to his new plaything, his new obsession, Marianne, it marks a shift.
Love couldn't understand me, but Marianne, you understood.
Joe is no longer justifying his actions to others. He started to really believe his own lies. He's no longer afraid of becoming a monster. He's perfecting it. Season 4, Losing His Identity, the Myth of Redemption.
I got a second chance, and this time I'm utilizing all of me.
In season 4, Joe becomes Jonathan Moore. In reinventing himself, he's trying to suppress his past. But the truth is, he's not healing, he's hiding. He tries to play the role of a redeemed man, distancing himself from his past. But Joe can't escape Joe, especially when he hasn't done any real work.
You were reluctant to accept. They were you.
Though the season was a chop for me, because I barely remember what happened for most of it, the season explores his split psyche. His mind fractures under the weight of his lies, and we see him descend into full-blown delusion. He doesn't want to change. He wants to erase who he is. He's no longer justifying murder. He's just forgetting it, erasing it, disassociating from the monster that he's become. It literally splits his mind in two.
Isn't this a pickle? You and I are the same person.
No!
In creating a split persona to cope, he's no longer justifying abuse, he's suppressing it, creating psychological fragmentation. This is full-blown delusional narcissism with no remorse. He forgets the violence he's committed because he no longer feels wrong.
Joe?
I'm not Joe.
Joe isn't just an abuser now. He's a man completely detached from empathy. His actions no longer need that internal justification because he doesn't believe he's doing anything wrong. At this point, Joe doesn't want redemption. He wants reinvention without accountability. He finally embraces the truth that maybe he is the problem. And in real life, this is what happens when abusers escape consequences. They don't stop, they just evolve.
You finally found your happily ever after.
Season 5, The Final Unraveling.
It was you. You're the monster.
In the 5th and final season, Joe returns to New York, attempting to start anew, again, with his wife Kate and their child. This time he's wealthy and powerful, publicly respected and privately monstrous.
You've missed us. You feel so fucking alive.
He reopens Mooney's bookstore and tries to maintain a facade of normalcy. However, his past and inner demons quickly resurface. This is what abuse looks like when it's unrestrained by shame or fear of consequences.
You were able to come home as yourself. Joe Goldberg?
Joe is no longer hiding. He has status, control, and money. 3 things that often protect real-world abusers from accountability. He's not just manipulating one person, he's manipulating systems. In this season, a quote-unquote happily married man starts another affair and becomes involved with Bronte, a new bookstore employee who is secretly working to expose him. I'm not gonna lie, I really liked the twist. I mean, I didn't fully trust her anyways, but I like how we circled back to our one and only Beck.
Their dreams, don't give up. And in the meantime, mac and cheese.
Their relationship accumulates in a tense confrontation that leads to Joe's arrest. Finally. Like every season, we fall for his act of trying to change and believing in him when he says that he wants to be better, to do better. And we learn the same lesson each time that he's trying to teach us, that he just won't, because ultimately, he doesn't see himself as doing anything wrong.
Yeah, so she has you to thank. Do you have any idea how fucking twisted you sound?
And I really, really liked how the final episode is played out. Like, I can't unsee him barefoot sprinting in the woods like a wild animal who needs to be put down. Side note, Penn was too good in the role. Like, I had to watch a bit of Gossip Girl after I finished the show because I couldn't look at him on screen anymore. We've always known Joe to be a sick SOB, but this season really takes it. We really see him for who and what he is. A straight-up socio-psychopath with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He will never change.
Without parole? Paige Salinger, first-degree murder. Life without parole.
And I'm so glad we got the quote-unquote happy ending, because not gonna lie, at this point, I am sick of the submersive ending bullshit. We need to bring back the bad guys losing so that fear is instilled back into people. We see enough of evil winning in real life. So like, at this point, no, I don't care anymore. Don't surprise me. Give me the typical happy ending. Take that villain down, put their ass in jail, drag them motherfuckers back to hell. This TikTok was so real.
I don't think so, honey. Not enough brutal deaths to villains in children's films. I'm talking about Disney anymore. If I have to watch one more movie where the villain is yourself, I'm gonna fucking lose my shit. Kids need to fear death, and they need to understand the brutal reality and consequences of your villainous behavior. Please pull up, I'm sure on streaming, Disney Plus, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Look at what happens to Frollo. The man... Claude Frollo. Frollo.
30 seconds.
He falls off a gargoyle and goes into lava. Half these villains died in lava. Miss Mama from Princess and the Frog gets dragged to hell deservedly for his villainous behavior in The Princess and the Frog. Ursula stabbed to death in the middle of the ocean. We can only imagine she sank to the bottom. and don't even talk to me about Scar, who was ripped apart by the hyenas, and I was made better as a result because I have fear and I know consequence. I don't think so, honey. These flop-ass new Disney movies and the flop ways in which villains don't even exist.
And that's 1 minute. Las Culturistas.
Throughout the season, Joe's delusions intensify. He continues to deflect responsibility for his actions till the very end. He still refuses to see himself for what he is. Even in prison, convicted of all his crimes, he still believes himself to be the victim.
It's unfair, putting all of this on me.
His final monologue even suggests that he still views himself as a victim, highlighting his inability to accept accountability.
Eventually, he'll just be some asshole I dated. Every day that passes, he shrinks.
And again, I really like the ending of the show circling back to the one we love to hate, Miss Guinevere Beck. It was done really well in my opinion, especially paired with Louise's dialogue and her actions to have Beck's book rewritten to be just her voice. I love Louise saying how her life is not before and after Joe, and with each moment, his significance fades. I love how she mentions how she's living for Beck and all the other women whose voices and lives were taken from them. Yeah, cringe, whatever, but I loved it. Yeah, I'll say it. It got me teary-eyed. They ate that. It was just a really nice, cute, wholesome, positive ending. Something we need a bit more of in life, you know? I'm sorry, but to death with realism, bring back fantasy.
I still believe in the one. that the right person is out there for me.
It becomes almost hilarious the way he's always seeking out love because no one is ever good enough for him. Season 1 with Beck, she didn't understand him, so that's why it didn't work out. But by season 2, he finds someone who understands him, but that's still not good enough. He wants something new. So in season 3, he finds someone new to obsess over. And when he finds her, he does nothing but inflicts pain on her. Oh, because he's mentally fractured. Alright, cool. Then he finds someone in season 4 that understands him. Someone that accepts him for who he is. Something he's been gagging for. But she's still not enough. And by the end of the season 5, he's sure that this new girl is it. But she's never going to be. He's never going to be satisfied. He's never going to be happy.
I think you love it! It's the power! You love it! An excuse to justify creeping into girls' lives and violating the shit out of them!
He's not looking for love. He's looking for control. He's looking for power. And he's just bored. Each season of you strips away another excuse. Season 1, he's misunderstood. Season 2, he wants to change. Season 3, he's trapped. Season 4, he's mentally fractured. Season 5, he's empowered. Through it all, the message is clear. Abuse escalates. Charm can be a weapon, and unchecked power breeds deeper cruelty.
You've missed this. You feel so fucking alive.
Joe Goldberg is a fictional character, but the tactics he uses are very, very, very real. Let's stop seeing people like him as tragic romantics and start calling them for what they are, predators in love's clothing. So now that we've done a recap understanding how his violence and darkness escalates, let's talk about what he teaches us about abusive men.
Men like Joe, they really catch you off guard, don't they?
A wolf in sheep's clothing. At first glance, Joe is quiet, thoughtful, he's romantic. He works at a bookstore, he reads poetry, he's sensitive, understanding, he listens, he makes you feel seen, and that's exactly the point. Joe is what psychologists may call a covert narcissist. Unlike the typical narcissist who craves attention, Joe's manipulation hides behind humility. But deep down, he feels entitled to love and to people, and to control the people he gives it to. He's convinced that he's the good guy, and that's what makes him so dangerous, his inability to see himself for what he really is.
I knew you have to do anything for love, so I did.
After pulling you in with a charm, then comes the control. Joe's abuse doesn't start with violence. It starts with attention. He observes, learns your routines, he finds your weaknesses. This isn't love. It's surveillance. In psychology, this behavior aligns with obsessive rational intrusion, a pattern where someone uses stalking, manipulation, and coercion to control access to someone's life. Joe frames it as protection, and he genuinely believes this, but protection without consent is simply possession.
There's not a line that I wouldn't cross for you.
I didn't ask you to swoop in for me.
This is a classic abuser tactic, isolating the partner, then justifying it as love. He did it for us, he'll say, but us always means he's control over you.
You're not heroin, you're a human woman.
From love bombing to violence, abuse often follows a cycle: idealization, devaluation, and discard. Joe's pattern fits this perfectly. At first, this person is quote-unquote perfect. He puts his partner on a pedestal, but the second they show independence, he spirals, he gets possessive, he gets violent. And it's not just drama, it's textbook emotional abuse. Joe doesn't see these women as people. He sees them as a narrative device for his story.
So you played the white knight until your damsel in distress turned on you.
When they break from the script, he punishes them for it. This entitlement stems from attachment trauma.
I never stood a chance.
Joe's trauma is real, but it is not an excuse. Throughout the show, we slowly learn more about Joe's childhood and his experiences with neglect and abuse. This kind of trauma can distort someone's attachment style, leading to an anxious or disorganized attachment in adulthood. He equates love with pain, he fears abandonment, but reenacts the same abuse he endured. It's tragic and it adds depth to his character, but the hard truth is, although trauma explains behavior, it does not excuse abuse.
Are we all just products of our environment? Hurt people.
Yeah, hurt people, but if you're unable to see your wrongs and genuinely do better, then you're no better than other abusers. Many people endure horrible childhoods and don't become killers. Joe's past is a reason, and we can use it to understand him, but it is not a justification.
He'll just have to decide what kind of man he wants to be.
Joe Goldberg is fiction, but real-life abusers often follow the same script.
As long as you are alive, it's not too late.
Let's break down key red flags that Joe presents. First is fast intimacy. Joe often rushes relationships. This isn't passion, it's control. Then comes surveillance disguised as care. He tracks, follows, checks in. That's not romantic, that's stalking. Then it's jealousy masked as loyalty. Joe doesn't want partnership, he wants possession. This is followed by gaslighting. He rewrites reality to maintain this control. Then he plays the victim. He always frames himself as the hurt one, even though he is the abuser.
That all of this is somehow justified.
It is.
You are insane!
The danger is that these behaviors often come wrapped in charm. That's how people like Joe always manage to blend in. What the show gets right.
I promise to be a man worthy of raising you.
The show has its moments, and it's not hard to see why we loved watching it. But at several points, one too many if I'm honest, I found myself rooting for Joe, genuinely believing that he wanted to change and could. But the truth is, You is a masterclass in how abuse hides in plain sight.
Love.
Hello.
It's a reason for being.
The show draws us in with Joe's voiceovers, framing us as accomplices to his obsession. It forces us to feel sympathy and then repulsion on an endless loop. It's kind of a rare depiction of an abuser who is not a cartoon villain, but a realistic manipulator, and that's the genius of the show. It reminds us that abuse doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it wears a smile. I really loved the dialogue in the final season between Marianne and Louise.
If you got fooled by this guy, you are not as smart as you thought you were.
She's so right. When you're on the outside looking in, it's so easy to disregard these women as stupid and naive, low-key thinking that you're better than that because you would never fall for it. But if you really think about it, no one willingly chooses to fall in love with someone that is going to try and destroy their life. Abusers don't walk around with a big red warning sign on their forehead, and that's the sad truth. It's a process so insidious and dangerous. So what can we learn from Joe Goldberg? Abuse is about power, not passion. Being watched, followed, or protected without consent is not romantic. It's predatory and dangerous. Charm can be a mask for control, and most importantly, healing from trauma does not give you the right to hurt others. Joe Goldberg is not a cautionary tale about love. He's a warning about how easily abuse can hide behind it. The more we understand abuse, the more we can protect ourselves and others. Let's keep on calling out myths about love and shedding light on what real safety, consent, and respect looks like. Let's always remember, real love never comes with fear, control, or pain.
If there is ever a tiny voice in your head telling you I deserve better, listen to her. That's your real, true love.
And I'll note once again, if you or anyone you know is in an abusive relationship, please seek help. I'll leave some resources in the description. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.